Okay, let's talk about the Mahabharata. If you've ever looked at this monumental text and thought, where do I even start? You are definitely not alone. Today, we're diving right into this explainer to visually deconstruct this massive ancient Indian epic, its staggering math, and its incredibly bloody narrative flow, to make it a totally accessible and fascinating journey for us. To really wrap our heads around it without getting lost in the weeds, we're going to chunk this text into 6 clear phases: the lakes of blood, math of an ancient army, the road to war, the great battle, aftermath and ascension, and finally, the ultimate epic. Phase 1. The Lakes of Blood. To understand the sheer scale of what we're dealing with, we actually have to start with the visceral, gory origins of the battlefield itself. The text drops this incredibly intense visual right away. The warrior Rama, basically blinded by absolute rage, wipes out an entire noble race of warriors, the Kshatriyas. And he doesn't just defeat them, he literally creates 5 lakes of blood to offer to his ancestors. I mean, wow. It sets a profoundly heavy, dark tone right out of the gate. So, Rama eventually calms down, and those bloody lakes become a holy shrine known as Samanta-panchaka. But here is why this matters to us. This exact, brutal piece of land is the specific site where the massive armies of the Kauravas and Pandavas will eventually assemble. The very earth they stand on is already steeped in a deep, ancient cycle of violence. Moving on to Phase 2, Math of an Ancient Army. Now, ancient texts don't always give us exact logistics, right? But here, we get a highly specific, strict exponential formula. It's like a giant, deadly math puzzle. It starts with a tiny base unit called a pati. That's just 1 chariot, 1 elephant, 5 foot soldiers, and 3 horses. From there, it multiplies by 3 and then by 3 again, scaling all the way up through these massive formations until you hit the ultimate military division, the Akshauhini. And get this, exactly 18 of these colossal Akshauhini units assemble for this war. 18. It's a number that keeps popping up over and over again, serving as the symbolic heartbeat of the entire epic. Let's put that into perspective. When you calculate just one of these Akshauhinis based on the source text, the numbers are just staggering. We're talking almost 22,000 chariots, the exact same number of elephants, over 65,000 horses, and well over 100,000 foot soldiers. And remember, that is just 1 unit. Multiply that whole shebang by 18, you are literally picturing millions of combatants and animals flooding a single battlefield. Phase 3, the road to war. So, how do we actually get millions of people ready to fight to the death? The author Vyasa brilliantly ratchets up the tension across 5 distinct books, or parvas. It kicks off with the Adi, giving us the messy royal family tree. Then the Saba hits us with that famously disastrous rigged game of dice that strips the Pandavas of everything. That throws them into the Aranyaka, their bitter forced exile, followed by a super tense year hiding out in disguise in the Virata. And finally, Udyoga, where peace talks completely fall apart and everyone frantically scrambles to prepare for war. Right before the swords are drawn, the 2 main heroes are offered a fateful choice. It is a total clash of priorities. You've got the foolish Duryodhana choosing sheer military might, an entire Akshauhini of armed troops. But Arjuna? He chooses divine wisdom. He just asked for Krishna as a counselor, even knowing Krishna has sworn a vow not to fight. Actually, it's that single crucial choice that completely dictates the moral and spiritual trajectory of the entire war. Phase 4, the Great Battle. The tension finally snaps, plunging us into 18 relentless days of carnage. But it's not just a blur of random chaos. The text structures the slaughter meticulously by its doomed commanders. For 10 days, the revered Bhishma leads the charge until he goes down. Then Drona takes over for 5 days. Karna rules the field for 2 brutal days. And finally, Salya barely lasts half a day. It's this chilling, systematic dismantling of leadership, culminating in a vicious final club fight between Duryodhana and Bhima. But here is the real kicker, the thing you absolutely need to take away. There is no clean Hollywood victory here. The war actually concludes with a sickening, dishonorable night slaughter. 2 surviving Karva warriors, driven completely mad by grief and rage, sneak into the victorious camp and massacre the soldiers while they are sleeping. It's a harrowing twist that permanently stains the so-called victory with profound, senseless tragedy. Which brings us to Phase 5, Aftermath and Ascension. After the war, the narrative completely shifts gears. We go from the heartbreaking wails of surviving women walking the battlefield straight into these incredibly deep philosophical teachings from a dying Bhishma on duty and governance. Then the older generation just retires to the woods. But wait, it gets crazier. There's this bizarre sequence where a surviving clan literally destroys itself in a drunken brawl using cursed grass that turns into thunderbolts in their hands. No way, right? Finally, it all wraps up with the heroes taking a treacherous, lonely climb up to heaven. And finally, Phase 6, the ultimate epic. So why does any of this matter to us today? Well, the text doesn't just consider itself a good story, it explicitly promises that consuming this explainer of human nature is spiritually transformative. It calls itself a complete guide to wealth, duty, and desire. The source even claims that just engaging with it purges your sins, equating it to the massive ancient charity of donating 100 cows with gold-mounted horns. That is a pretty heavy endorsement. It's meant to be the ultimate inspiration for all poets, designed to actively destroy sin and create good in the world. I absolutely love how the source material frames itself with this metaphor. It totally knows how daunting it is, comparing its massive, extensive history to a wide, impassable ocean. But it offers summaries, just like the very one we're doing right now, as a sturdy ship to help you safely cross those overwhelming depths without drowning in the endless genealogies and complex battles.
I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Having seen the structured map of this epic, its visceral blood, the mind-blowing mass, and its profound spiritual heights, are you intrigued enough to board the ship and explore these waters for yourself? There is literally an entire ocean of wisdom waiting for you. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.